Hey y'all, what's poppin'? Let's chat real quick because I was having like an epiphany. An epiphany. Yeah, I've been doing good, y'all. Been eating good, been living good, But for Virgo season, I'm gonna come back, I think, and I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna do more of a video on this because I don't have a lot of time to do it right now. But I was thinking for Virgo season, I always come on and chat with y'all when I can. So I was like, I think I was watching something. Well, before we get into that, y'all just keep getting scammed on this here internet, huh? Just keep getting scammed. There's lip gloss on my cup. Mm. Mama, I made it. Look, Mama, I made it. you already, you already know. Look, Mama, I made it. So people just keep getting scammed on the internet from people in like the conscious or pro-black community. I mean, I've been I've been a proud person of my race since I've been born, right? It's just how I've been raised. Never fell into any conscious community cliques or anything, even when I could have. And I totally understand not wanting to work for the man, wanting to be an entrepreneur, wanting to run your own system, maybe not liking how corporate America works, not liking how those things work, right? But whether you're in the conscious community, whether you don't have nothing to do with it, whether you're a pro-black person or not, you could be Chinese, Asian, you could be Puerto Rican, Mexican, it doesn't matter. I understand people wanting to do their own thing, be entrepreneurs, run their own business, not wanting to go to work 9 to 5 for somebody else necessarily. But I never understood, even for myself, I don't want to either, but I do what I have to do regardless of how I feel about pro-black issues, race issues, or just socialist issues, right? Wanting a better world for everybody really is the overall guise for people who really, it's really beyond race in these days and times. It's just what wanting a better world for everybody, right? Wanting things to be fair, wanting everybody to have homes, everybody to have food, no matter what country you live in. How, it shouldn't be such a disparity between people who have money and people who don't. But I never understood not having like a tangible product or something tangible, a tangible service, and wanting to like scam people. I mean, this is a world of scams. I mean, people have been scamming since the beginning of time. So the things these people are doing aren't anything new, but it really sucks to like be scamming under the guise of pro-black or venging a vengeance against or making things right from times of like slavery or like that whole Tulsa Fund thing, using that name but misappropriating or just outright scamming and fraud and funds. Like, it's crazy. And I don't even know how that fund got so much money. It's amazing with a person with the gift of gab, and people who have no, like, for me, I'm not necessarily a front and center type of person. I like to kind of be behind the scenes. I have my times when I do like to be front and center, but that's not really I don't have an issue with it, right? What I do every day for work is front and center, but really I like to kind of be in the background. But it's a lot of people who like attention and they like to be social. They like social groups. They like to talk to people. So they don't have any problem like being out there, being on the forefront, talking to people, and just really whether they scamming or not, like a lot of people don't have an issue with that, right? So when you do that, so take for instance like preachers like Farrakhan or even like a Malcolm X, or people who really are able to gain crowds of people like pastors and just different people who lead certain groups or whatever. They attract people to them. They got the gift of gab, so they might get people to follow their cause. But then when you flip that over to people, like a lot of people you guys see in the black community or conscious community or any community right now that's scamming, they have that gift to get out there and talk to people. I mean, this has nothing to do with Malcolm X and Farrakhan. Just giving an example of people who have a really good gift of gab and are able to get people to follow them, which is really no surprise with Farrakhan and Malcolm X. This is aside from scamming and fraud, but with Malcolm X, just examples with Malcolm X and Farrakhan, because they're a Taurus, right? Taurus does rule a house of the throat, vocal cords, the voice, right? And it also rules in the tarot and in astrology towards rules like religious sex groups and things like that, right? So it's no wonder why there's two of the most biggest were the most biggest religious leaders or just group leaders, right? Because I know Malcolm was a religious leader, but he it seems like at the end of his life he was more of a socialist kind of mindset. Still religious because he was Muslim, but very socialist mindset to include all kind of groups of people or different kind of Muslims or just black people too, and whatever in his mission for what he wanted to see for just like civil rights and things of that nature. But when you transpose that over onto some of the people in these groups and communities, just focusing on that because that's the color I am, that's my race, those are the things I see a lot online, and just see these people, whether it's crypto or it's like this Tulsa real estate fund and all this kind of stuff. It's like it seems like it always turns out to be a scam. And for me, I can kind of see through people. That is one of my gifts gifts, and I don't want to call it a curse and speak that onto things, but it could be a curse sometimes when you so easily see through things because you don't even have the experience to go through it, which is a lifesaver. But I can really see through BS like really easily and not even have to know a person. Like the first time I see it, I'll know it. So I never invested, I never follow, and I'm not a follower. I've been a leader all my life. I don't follow other people. I follow wisdom and guidance from elders and people who have experience, but I don't follow people in groups and sects. That's never really been my thing. So I've never got sucked into following these people, giving any money, joining any crypto groups, giving to any real estate funds. If I give my money, it's because I want to donate to a cause I believe in, and I'm not expecting anything back. You know what I mean? Because in order for somebody to crowdfund or to lead us through entrepreneurship and investments, they need to show they're already doing that on their own in real life on the ground. You know what I mean? A person who has never, and sometimes just because you've been in jail or you've had certain run-ins with the law don't mean anything, but it should raise a red flag that, hey, this person is used to doing things in a criminal way and they can't even get away with it. So be careful, not to say not giving those people a second chance. When they are worthy of it, you should. But when they have not shown anything, and they have not shown success outside of their own personal life and what they do for themselves, like bosses put other people on. Bosses provide employment and opportunities for other people. Then you shouldn't, like, I don't understand how these people are able to raise so much money, get so many people to invest and subscribe, and then there'll be people that's talking like this conscious message, and then they'll show up in gold chains and all kinds of excess of material things when helping society, whether it's from a race-based perspective or it's from an economic or social perspective, it is not about material things. Doesn't mean there has to be an absence of liking material things, but you have to be able to get those on your own outside of whatever cause and purpose. I never thought that should be associated with like social causes of helping people in entrepreneurship and things like that. But it just turns out all these people end up being scammers, and I would think the greater population of people would see that by now. But I think one of the truest quotes I've ever heard in my life, like it's literally true, is, and I don't quite remember the numbers or whatever, I'm going to give you the gist of it, is that like 98% of people are followers. And there's like a 2%. I mean, you can even open that up if you want to be generous and say 90% of people are followers. And there's like a very fine line of 10% of people who are the leaders, who literally think for themselves. Other people the majority of people in the world are like zombies, mindless zombies. And they just follow. And an example of that, I'm going to come back and do a video about this because I literally have to go in 5 minutes. Time passes so fast, y'all. I'm sorry. But I'm going to come back and do a video on what I actually wanted to talk about, which was not this. And then this other subject I'm going to bring up about it because it reminds me, or it plays into this mindless followers, is this whole Krishan Rock and Blueface thing. I see so many women supporting Krishan, regardless of her behavior. And she from Baltimore. So of course I like her, you know what I'm saying? I like her. But the wild Pisces in her is just too much for me. And I feel like Blueface, I've said it on my other videos, he's always been who he is. And people hate Blueface, but they support Krishan. Number one, because she's a woman, and I get it, right? But Krishan has so much toxic behavior that, and for people to continue to support her in droves and really hate Blueface is crazy. I mean, this girl is on live streaming a birth. And at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with anything else but attention and money. Period. So it just goes, it just sad. It don't sadden me, but it just disappoints me when I just read all the comments of support, even when she's smoking and pregnant. It's crazy. So what I really want to talk about, and I'm going to come back, is I was having an epiphany, and something was on my mind about Michael Jackson. I don't know, either his songs or something I had seen about Michael Jackson, right? I'm an 80s baby. I like Michael Jackson, but I was never like a really huge Michael Jackson fan. I liked his songs. Yes, I did. We had Michael Jackson albums because my mother had like every record known to man. And I liked his songs. Remember the Time, things like that. That was like in the core of my growing up in the 90s and stuff. I hated Thriller when I was younger though. And I love scary movies. It's my favorite genre of movies. I would watch the scariest movies. Besides, I had just watched the Pope's Exorcism. That was really, really good. And I was telling my niece to watch it, and she came in, she was like, it's a 10 out of 10. It was really, really good. Just because I just watched that the other day, so I mentioned it. But I love scary movies, but I never liked Thriller. Now, I was really young when Thriller was out and was popular. So maybe I was just too young, but I've liked scary movies ever since I've been young. But I hated Thriller. I still don't like to watch Thriller straight through to this day. But anyway, but I like Michael Jackson, but I was never a fan like most people are of Michael Jackson. And then I saw something which was also, both of these people are a little before my time. Michael Jackson was born in 58 or 59, I think. And then this other person I'm going to mention was all his movies and his shows was out during my childhood and growing up in the 80s and 90s as well. And I never really associated the two. And someone may have done a video or talked about this on YouTube before. But I was watching something and came across Pee Wee Herman. And I was just thinking, because Michael Jackson, for whatever, I had talked about him a day before with somebody, or we talked about the songs, he was in the conversation. And then like the next day I had seen something come across about Pee Wee Herman. I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to talk about this for Virgo season, because they are both Virgos and they're the same damn person. I had an epiphany that Michael Jackson and Pee Wee Herman are the same fucking person. So I had that epiphany, and I was like, just looking at how they act. If anybody's ever watched Pee Wee Herman, been a fan of Pee Wee Herman or Michael, you could see what I mean. You really don't need a whole astrological dialogue to get what I'm saying. I was just like, damn, this is the same person. Not technically meaning they're the same person, Ruby. Not technically, come here, boo. Not technically meaning they're the same person, but you can see the characteristic similarities, like literally. And I'm going to come back and do a longer video because I have to go. I didn't realize the time was going to go by so fast, but maybe just a heads up that I'm going to come back and talk about it, because before I even looked up their birthday, I didn't even know Pee Wee Herman was a Virgo at first. And I looked up I knew Michael was a Virgo. And I looked Pee Wee Herman up and I was like, he's a Virgo. I was like, they're like the same freaking person and personality. And just today, so I've been thinking that because I've been thinking about this for like the last couple of weeks, saying, oh, I got to come do a video about it. So just today, before I came on a video, I actually pulled up their charts to see their exact birthdays. I had looked at Pee Wee Herman's briefly, didn't remember the date or anything, just enough to know he was a Virgo, with it being Virgo season. And I always knew Michael was, but didn't know or recall his exact birthday. Never really made a note of it. So I knew. I said they're either very close in the date, like I know they're both Virgos, but they have to be close either in the date, the year, and I wasn't so much thinking the year, but the date had to be close. And if it wasn't that they had close dates, regardless of the dates and the years, I knew they had to have similar planet placements. And they're 2 days apart. Different years. Michael was born in 58 or 59. Pee Wee Herman was born in 52. So Pee Wee Herman was about 6 or 7 years older than Michael Jackson. But they're born 2 days apart. Michael is August 29th and Pee Wee Herman is August 27th. And when you look at them, you can see Michael, even though he says he got vitiligo and all that stuff, his complexion is damn near the same as Pee Wee Herman. They almost, their faces are shaped different. Pee Wee's is a little bit more rounded, but they almost resemble in the face. And then how they talk and the issues they dealt with, that childish voice they talked in. And I don't know how Paul Reubens, who is Pee Wee Herman, that's Pee Wee Herman's real name. I think I've heard him talking like outside of his character, and he still had that angst of childish voice in him, even outside of his character. And that is how Michael talked as well. Both are pale white people. And then their issues that they dealt with as far as, I got all these plants in here, y'all, it's flies. All the issues they dealt with as far as like child blah blah accusations of inappropriateness with kids. Paul Reubens, I think he had got arrested or hemmed up for having that kind of pictures on his computer or some kind of, things like that dealing with kids. And we all know whether the accusations are true or false about Michael, he was accused. And also, even if it's false, I feel like Michael was for sure probably inappropriate with kids. Even if it never crossed that line into like abuse or taking advantage of them, he was for sure stuck in a child's mind, stuck in a childhood, and was inappropriate. Like when you're that old, there's a distinction between being an adult and being a child, and you should act like an adult towards children. So it's no excuse for Michael, and I really hate when people give these excuses. No, he was, and I don't care what his issue was, if he was stuck in childhood or whatever. Your friends should be adults. The people you have sleepovers with should be adults. And if you do have kids, or you like to be around kids, or you like to watch kids, I love kids as well. But there has to be lines. There should be other adults around. You should let the kids should be with the kids should be sleeping with the kids. So that is just something I really wanted to talk about, because I had that freaking epiphany. And it's just funny how they're both Virgos. Their birthdays are 2 days apart. And also looking at their charts, I haven't looked at the chart enough to make any real connections. I just briefly glanced at it. But looking at their charts, they both had the sun in lower degrees of Virgo. So Michael's sun is at 6 degrees of Virgo. And I'm going to look at like the degrees and everything like that. And I should have did this live, because I hate to have to edit this and upload it, because that will take me forever. And Pee Wee Herman's son, Paul Reubens' son, is at 4 degrees of Virgo. They both have water moons. Michael is a Pisces moon, 14 degrees. I don't think either of these charts have a birth time. Maybe Michael's does, but I have to look. And I'm looking at whole sign houses. Pee Wee Herman has a 23-degree Scorpio moon. Moon could vary because there's no birth time on this Pee Wee Herman, Paul Reubens chart. Both of them have a Mercury in Leo. Pee Wee Herman 16 degrees of Leo, and Michael 25 degrees of Leo, which in retrograde, which is funny because not only the sound of their voice, which I have to go look in one of my astrology books that groups different terms with different planets that rule them. But not only the sound of their voice, if you want to say that's more Taurus, that's more the throat. If you want to talk about the voice being more so Taurus, the style of communication in them is like the same. And they both have that Mercury in Leo, how they communicated it. And being very childish. Mercury is like the youngest planet. It is a childish acting planet. It is like the planet of children to me. Mercury ruled signs tend to say young, especially the Gemini. So, and I'm going to go through some of these other transits, and we'll do a video specifically on this. But I said, well, let me come chat with you all really quick before I never chat at all. So fingers crossed I get this video out, but I'm gonna post this in the meantime, because it just always goes to show how energy does not lie. And astrology is just energy. It just never lies. Have a good one, y'all.